guys, today we are back in the garden. So yesterday it was very cold and rainy. Today is very cold and not quite rainy, but it's not warm. We had a cold front move through last night. But the thing that I usually do on Mondays, which I put off, is fertilize. And this smells terrible. Fertilizer is money, right? It's a good thing. So here's a couple of things that I want to address. The fertilizer I use, problems with my garden, and that kind of thing. So let's get started. You probably saw that I was using this watering can. This is a French style 3-gallon watering can that I actually got from Gardener Supply. And no, it's not sponsored. It just happens to be where I got it from. It actually comes apart. So I was having trouble getting the fertilizer to come out. So I was able to pop this off, pop that off, wash it out, clean the inside out, which is very hard to do. And then I can put it all back together and I have a complete watering can again. Okay, so we're out here by the hose where I've been mixing up my fertilizer. So I'm going to mix it with Alaska fish fertilizer. Have I used this before? No. It says that it is great for organic gardening. Basically, it is emulsified fish. You do need to shake it up. It says shake well. I've used it once, but there wasn't a lot of room to shake, so let's shake it again. It's hard to shake with one hand, and I cannot find my tripod for my phone. And phone is what I'm using right now. Okay, so you want to use 2 to 3 tablespoons of fish emulsion, or this fish fertilizer, per 1.5 gallons. So I have a 3-gallon, remember? So there's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I got a little more on that first 1, 2, 3 than I meant to. So I cut my second short. And then I am going to pick up my hose and add my water. I really think there's a kink in my hose somewhere. This isn't filling up as fast as it normally does. Okay, so this stuff is great to even pour directly on the leaves. That fish fertilizer seems to, from everything I have seen, do some amazing things. So that is the new way that I plan on fertilizing this summer. I will probably cut out the Miracle-Gro once I start getting to the point where I am harvesting vegetables out of the garden. Like I said, I did that little bit of research, and I don't know. I don't think it's terribly bad, but it can be bad for the garden too, so we're just going to use it at half strength and move on. Hi, Axel. What are you doing, Axel? Okay, so the thing that I want to talk about my garden and what I have done wrong is a couple years ago when I decided to start my garden. It was between where I'm at and where the second garden is. And I debated and really liked this area. I watched the sun. Oh, I gotta stop the dog. Note to self, don't leave fertilized water unattended. The dog will try to drink it. This dog thinks he's gonna get into my fertilizer, but I'm not gonna let him. Okay, so this is the spot that I decided on when I did my first garden. And it was actually started out as a traditional garden. It was grass, it was part of the yard, but I turned into a garden. So we moved into the house in 2019. I left it as yard because I didn't have time for a garden. 2020 hit, everybody had time for a garden. So did I. This is when it came about, and it was started in March of 2020. That year, basically all I planted was corn, green beans, some tomatoes, and something else, but the something else didn't do well. So really those things are the ones that I had luck with. I had 7 rows of corn, which actually that's part of the problem. So I am by this tree, and they say you're not supposed to plant a garden by a tree. Reasons being, it creates shade. Okay, well, I didn't have any trouble with the shade because the shade happened in the hot afternoon sun, but it was that speckledy, sparkly type shade, you know, this where the sun comes through the leaves and you still get sun, but it shielded the plants from just being scorching hot, and so it actually worked out. Okay. Reason number 2, tree roots. They absorb the moisture, the nutrients, the everything. Well, I went through and I watered quite frequently, so while it probably was, I compensated by watering rather frequently. And then the last reason, or one of the last major reasons that affect me, is supposedly different types of trees create the soil to be acidic. They put out very acidic soil from their roots and stuff. Well, I didn't have that trouble. And now that I have raised beds, I have changed that dynamic altogether because we're up out of the soil, even though all the beds touch the soil below. Most of the roots stick to the soil that I have added. So I have even combated that because I've made them into raised beds. So I filled my beds with, I want to say horse manure, but really it's horse manure compost, because one thing about horse manure is you have to let it set for 2 to 3 years because it is extremely, extremely acidic and not good when it's first out of the horse stall. It has to sit. But when we have 5 horses in a barn and we have to clean stalls every day, twice a day, it adds up really fast. And I have a huge manure pile that you will see in this picture to choose from. I know where the oldest stuff is, the middle stuff, and the newest stuff. And of course, we always dig out of the oldest stuff. So it's not hot, it doesn't burn my plants, and whatever. I've also gone in and I have added, there is some regular soil used for potting plants, because every time I pot a plant and put it in the ground, it adds that soil. And last year I made sure to fertilize. I fertilized once a week on Mondays, because Monday just happened to be the day I would remember, and life was grand. So I have combated my issues. Now I do have one issue this year that's going to cause me some problem, and it is that tree limb right there. It wasn't there quite as prominent last year, so we're actually going to come in and make it go away, I think. Maybe not, I don't know. But I also started that second garden in 2020 and then decided to go ahead and redo it again in 2021. It is a traditional bed. It has its own issues too, because again, it was yard. But grass doesn't, okay, so grass does need to be fed, fertilized, taken care of. One way that you can take care of your grass is when you mow your grass, you can leave the cuttings, and the cuttings will actually feed your grass. That's not the only way. Usually they say you should fertilize it too, but we do have that going for us. Otherwise, it's pretty crummy soil, to be honest with you. But I've done really well. So in 2020, when I decided to start this, on like May 29th or May 30th. And I had it started, like tilled up and started no later than June 5th, but I think I was even before that. I think I almost did it in 3 days, and that was that was rough. And I went ahead and I planted 8 rows of corn, and I had green beans. I'm pretty sure that was it, because it actually was a smaller patch. I think it was from like here to where you kind of see that area. And then last year I brought it all the way back to here. So I added where all this green stuff is. You can tell the old dug up stuff from the new dug up stuff. We went through and we fertilized it with triple 13 or 13-13-13. Not the best in the world, not the worst in the world. It's just what it was, because it needed something, and I did not have, at that time, we did not have a bucket on our tractor to be able to pull in the horse manure to make it better. And I could buy the triple 13. So we had a seed spreader on our 4-wheeler we had at the time, which is my dad's 4-wheeler, really. And it was really bad because the seed spreader, for some reason, dumped. And when it dumped right into this area right here, and it burned everything off. Now everything else had a nice layer of triple 13, except that one area that was totally scorched. This is one reason to avoid the triple 13. And another thing is, I probably should have let it sit, a week, 2 weeks, to just let it work in. But I didn't have that kind of time or restraint, apparently. It didn't hurt me, though, because everything else was scattered very sporadically, minus that one spot. And that one spot, it came back. So it didn't totally kill it off. But the problem I have here is just the really bad soil. I have one more bag. I have one more bag of triple 13 in the garage that I don't want it to go to waste. I just don't. So I think what I might do is go ahead and put the triple 13 back on here. I've got a little bit of time. Obviously, I haven't even tilled this up. It just had basic ground cover all winter long. I'm going to till it up, put in some triple 13, fill it up again, let it set, and then start planting stuff. And when I start planting the stuff, I'm going to put better amendments in here. But I just want to feed this patch. And there may be a lot of naysayers out there telling me that what I have planned to do is stupid. And to that I say, well, that may be true. But it is what it is. So these are my 2 gardens. I hate that I've done some things wrong. But the thing about gardening is, you do things wrong, you learn from your mistakes, and you move on.